and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on. I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavour show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of...
Imagine a day where, well, everything feels like it's spiraling, you've got crucial deadlines just looming, staff are spread and possibly thin, and someone sends a desperate plea by literal snail mail.
Yeah, and at the very same time, another desperate call is happening, connecting someone to, prison walls and potentially dangerous information.
Exactly. So today we're diving into this really intricate web of crises, these desperate measures, and some truly unexpected alliances that all manage to unfold in just a single day within one community.
It's quite a stark reminder, really, isn't it, of how quickly things we rely on, those foundational systems, can fracture. It just pushes people to their absolute limits, emotionally and practically.
Right. The pressure points feel universal, even if the specifics here are, well, unique to this story. And for you, especially if you navigate complex information or high-stakes decisions in your own life, our mission today is to unpack the kinds of emotional and practical pressures that are at play here.
We want to help you understand the why behind some of these characters' choices. You'll see how intertwined their lives and challenges really become.
Yeah, and we'll uncover some surprising facts, maybe offer a bit of insight, hopefully with just enough humor or at least perspective to keep you hooked.
And our source material for this deep dive, it comes from some rich excerpts of an audio drama, specifically a segment from The Archers.
Ah, yes, the iconic, long-running British radio serial. It's really renowned for its detailed portrayal of, everyday rural life and community challenges.
Exactly, that's the one.
So what you'll discover today is pretty compelling, I think. You'll gain some unique insight into the sheer chaos of a farm trying to operate without its key manager.
And the tension of divided loyalties that crops up because of that.
And then there's this nerve-wracking gamble, this decision to trust a source from inside a prison to solve a really dangerous ongoing problem.
Yeah, high stakes all around.
Definitely. Let's get into it. Okay, so our first stop takes us right into the heart of a managerial crisis. It's a farm, and it feels like it's teetering on the edge. We meet Brian, who is clearly, almost comically, in over his head.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The source paints such a vivid picture of his state. He's just buried under emails, struggling with paperwork. He flat out calls incredibly boring and a nightmare.
Yeah, you can almost feel his panic rising, can't you? He's worried about missing deadlines.
In Brian's situation, it's more than just being busy,
Yeah.
It really illustrates the invisible value of that organized person who keeps everything running.
Right.
He actually says his core problem is that Stella, his former manager, she was across all the day-to-day in a way that I wasn't. He literally says, what I really need is a kind of map, a kind of timeline.
Wow. So he knows what he needs, just not how to create it himself.
Precisely. It shows that leadership isn't just about telling people what to do. It's that vision, the prioritizing, the looking ahead, all the things he's suddenly missing.
So he's drowning, not just in tasks, but in the mental effort of just figuring out what needs doing next.
Yeah, and Adam, bless him, as you said, is trying to help. He's trying to alleviate some pressure.
He is. He's arranged the linseed spray, ordered fertilizer, contacted people about autumn drilling contracts.
He's definitely putting in the effort.
But it feels a bit like plugging holes in a dam with his fingers, doesn't it? It's sort of a futile attempt to fill this huge structural void left by Stella.
And Adam's efforts, while, well-intentioned, they immediately highlight that leadership vacuum. Without clear direction, even good employees can end up, misdirecting their energy or causing new problems.
And that's exactly where it gets really interesting, because Adam is with Brian at home farm trying to help sort out this chaos when he's actually supposed to be somewhere else, entirely Breach Farm.
Ah, right.
And that leads to this furious phone call from Pat. She is fuming because Susan has been all on her own in the dairy for hours, apparently because Helen is off in Borchester.
Okay, so a knock-on effect already.
Big time. And Pat didn't even get Adam's message saying he'd be late, which leads her to just bluntly state, Adam, that's not how it works, and you know it. Ouch.
Yeah, Pat's reaction, it isn't just anger, is it? It's that raw frustration you feel when a system is under immense strain. It's not just a communication breakdown.
No.
It feels like a breach of trust. In what's clearly a fragile system already, When one person's absence, even if they tried to communicate it, creates this cascade of problems for others who are already stretched thin, well, it just erodes team reliability.
That's a great way to put it. It shows how the human element, the communication, is often the weakest link, even in a system that should work.
Definitely.
And that consequence for Adam having to rush off to, quote, throw himself on Susan's mercy, it really underscores those hidden costs, doesn't it? It's not just missed messages.
No, it's about trust, maybe even a bit of dignity lost there.
Yeah. It's a classic case of divided loyalties, pulling someone in too many directions, and you see the personal toll it takes.
Absolutely.
So, with the farm in such disarray, Brian attempts this Hail Mary pass to solve his massive managerial problem. He's written Stella a letter.
A letter, okay.
A heartfelt, deeply apologetic, handwritten effort to win her back. And get this, he sent it by actual post with an actual stamp.
Yeah. In this digital age, that's something.
Isn't it?
Brian's Hail Mary, though, it's not just nostalgic, is it? It feels like a textbook example of how, under extreme pressure, we sometimes mistake the effort we put into a familiar but maybe ineffective solution for actual strategic value.
Explain that a bit more.
Well, he rationalized it, right? He says the written word is more sincere, it takes effort, it's so much more personal, which might be true emotionally.
Oh, yeah?
But it reveals how desperation can kind of blind us to the fact that we're repeating strategies that didn't work before. He's prioritizing the emotional comfort of the gesture over a practical solution to his actual problem, which is running the farm.
That makes sense, because Adam, and later Pat, they are understandably skeptical. Stella was apparently categorical that she wouldn't come back.
Right. And his previous verbal apologies clearly made no difference whatsoever.
So Adam's perception is that Brian's completely lost the plot. And you see the broader impact, too. Kate's even delayed moving in with Kirsty because of Brian's state.
Wow. So the ripple effect is widening.
Definitely. It's clear Brian is truly desperate. Yet even as Adam's leaving, you hear this lingering hope in Brian's voice. He says, I don't want Stella to come back and find the place has gone to the dogs, do I?
Still holding out hope. This whole narrative, for you listening, especially if you navigate complex organizational challenges, it offers such a stark reminder. When a key person departs, the void isn't just operational.
Right.
It's psychological too. The frantic, sometimes irrational attempts to regain stability, like Brian's letter, they feel universal. It shows how we cling to symbolic gestures when the underlying systemic issues aren't fixed. Sometimes a heartfelt apology just isn't enough.
Indeed. It really highlights how quickly an organization can lose its strategic compass when a core leader is absent. It just leads to reactive scrambling measures, not proactive ones.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's pivot. Because simultaneously, there's this completely different yet equally desperate situation unfolding. We meet Kenton and Jolene, and they're waiting anxiously for a phone call.
Right, a call from George, who's currently in prison.
Yeah. The call's expected around 10:15 a.m., and the objective is chillingly specific. George thinks he can get information about Marky, described as the original aggressor, and his associate.
The associate who burned their pub sign and poisoned their pub cat tortoise.
Yes, you heard that right. Their pub cat tortoise. Quite the detail.
It really is. The motive here, it seems incredibly complex, though. It's not just about seeking information for justice, is it?
Doesn't feel like it.
It feels more like this desperate yearning for closure, maybe for safety, even if it means entering into this potentially really dangerous pact.
Yeah, and the source adds another layer. Apparently there's this other lad in prison whose dad wants to see Marky and his group cleaned up.
Ah, okay, so that transforms it into this really nuanced gamble, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where you've got personal vendettas from inside the prison system being potentially leveraged for, external gain.
Exactly. And Jolene, well, she's understandably a bundle of nerves about all this.
Yeah, can't blame her.
No. She says she feels nervous. She's questioning if there's anything sinister in it. Maybe it's some kind of trap set by George, or perhaps George himself is being blackmailed into it. She admits, the whole situation has just made me so paranoid.
Well, that profound paranoia feels like a deeply rational response,
Yeah.
given what they've presumably been through.
Yeah.
When you've faced ongoing threats, every new development, especially one involving a prison source, is going to be viewed through this lens of deep suspicion.
Yeah, it powerfully shows the psychological toll that sustained danger and uncertainty can take. Trust becomes a luxury they can barely afford. But Kenan, He's trying to be the steady hand here. He offers reassurance. He believes they just have to trust George on this.
Okay.
He calls it way too good an offer to mess up, which sounds less like a calculated gamble and more like, well, a leap of faith born out of sheer desperation.
Right, where the perceived potential benefit just outweighs the very real, possibly terrifying risks.
Exactly. So when George finally calls, something truly unexpected happens. Beyond just talking about the information they need,
Yeah.
George expresses genuine remorse. He tells Kenton he feels genuinely very sorry for everything, the baby, and he wants Kenton to pass on a simple sorry to Fallon.
Wow. Okay, that's significant.
It is. He sounds emotionally vulnerable. He admits he feels haunted by that night, and he remembers the specific detail a local hero glass Jolene and Kenton gave him. He says thinking about it makes him feel sick, and yet he admits he loved it.
That detail, the local hero glass, that's really key, isn't it? George's complex remorse here, it sort of highlights how, even in these dark situations, personal transformation and, let's be honest, self-interest can converge.
How so?
Well, his admission speaks volumes about his internal conflict, right? The shame of his actions versus this very human need for recognition, for acceptance, even from the people he wronged. It raises a crucial question for you listening. How much can we really trust such a sudden outpouring of remorse, especially from an unlikely ally whose own self-interest is so deeply tied to the outcome?
That's a very sharp point. And then the conversation takes an even more surprising turn.
Go on.
George reveals he's engaged. He calls his fiancée the girl of my dreams and himself a lucky man.
Engaged. While in prison?
Apparently so. It's such a stark contrast to the grim context of everything else they're discussing. How does that impact the risk assessment, do you think?
Well, that detail, it adds a potentially powerful layer to George's character, doesn't it? It suggests he might have a strong personal motivation for change now. He has something significant to lose.
Right.
Which could make him a more reliable, or at least a more committed, ally in their search for information. Or, conversely, maybe more desperate to prove his worth. It's a compelling example of how personal stakes can dramatically shift the dynamic in a dangerous alliance.
Yeah, absolutely. But despite all this, Jolene still voices concerns. She's worried about the danger George is putting himself in dealing with someone like Marky.
Understandable.
But then they hit this very practical dilemma. They realize they've said yes now. And you can't just, ring someone back in prison easily or schedule another call. They literally have no way of contacting him to call it off.
That's it, isn't it? The classic point of no return. They've agreed, and now the process has its own momentum. That lack of control, combined with the risks, forces their hand.
Yeah. And Kenton's ultimate conviction, his statement that they just have to let him do this and that it would be a good thing for a lot of people if he succeeded. It really underscores how desperation can force us to place immense trust in the most unexpected sources.
It really does.
It leaves you with a profound question, I think. When facing your own high-stakes decisions, how do you truly assess risk when hope is such a powerful driving force?
This whole storyline, it explores that complex interplay, justice, forgiveness, the difficult choices people make when they're desperate for answers. It forces you to consider how much you're willing to risk and who you're willing to trust when the alternative is just continued uncertainty and pain.
So we've looked at two distinct but equally chaotic situations today. Brian's meltdown at Home Farm and Kenton and Jolene's incredibly high-stakes call from prison.
And what's truly compelling, as we touched on, is how these seemingly separate threads are actually deeply intertwined. They create this profound ripple effect across their whole community.
Absolutely. Brian's managerial crisis at Home Farm directly impacts Adam's ability to do his job properly.
Right, Adam gets pulled away from Bridge Farm, which then stresses out Pat and Susan, who are already under pressure.
And Adam's promise to Pat that things won't happen again. It hinges entirely on the, let's face it, slim and probably unrealistic hope of Stella actually returning.
Which stems directly from Brian's desperate handwritten letter. It's a perfect illustration of how a leadership vacuum in one spot can set off this chain reaction of consequences, destabilizing a whole interconnected system.
Yeah, it's a powerful testament to how a crisis in one area can quickly cascade, creating challenges you wouldn't even foresee elsewhere. It really highlights the fragility of systems we often take for granted.
For sure. And what ties both these narratives together so strongly is that sheer, overwhelming power of hope and desperation.
Definitely. Brian's hoping to reverse his managerial nightmare with a heartfelt letter.
And Kenton and Jolene are desperately hoping to finally get answers about Marky through this risky prison contact.
These really powerful emotions, they lead to unconventional and, frankly, highly risky actions in both storylines.
It really demonstrates that when people are pushed to their absolute limits, their decision-making can become less about, calculated logic and much more about grasping at straws, driven by that profound need for resolution or just relief.
Whether it's a nostalgic letter or trusting an inmate.
Exactly. The underlying human desire for control, for peace, it often pushes individuals towards gambles they might normally avoid. For you listening, it's a powerful insight into how emotion can override objective risk assessment, a crucial factor to remember in any high-pressure environment.
So recapping, we've really navigated the chaotic daily life of a farm teetering on the edge. We've witnessed the genuine strain of divided loyalties and plunged right into the high-stakes world of seeking justice from a truly unlikely source.
In this deep dive, it really reveals how a series of small, seemingly isolated decisions, a forgotten message, a handwritten letter, that risky prison call can dramatically impact an entire community. It just underscores the fragility of systems when clear, consistent leadership is missing. And it shows the incredible lengths people will go to for resolution, for some kind of peace. We've seen the power of desperation, that surprising capacity for remorse, and the really complex calculus of trust.
Especially where even a tiny glimmer of hope can completely shift the entire risk equation.
Precise.
And it leaves us, and you, with this final provocative thought. When you're faced with information overload, when the stakes feel incredibly high, how much will you rely on gut instinct versus calculated risk? Especially when the path forward means placing your trust in the most unexpected, maybe even unsettling of places.
So, what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just
And,
moving mics around.
So, what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the archers. Any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep.
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
Yep. That's the ball bar. That's,
This one.
yep. That's.
Haley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline.
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community at whatever